All right, guys, so we are live and we actually have a very special podcast today. We have a very esteemed guest here on the pod. First time that he's been on here, a Houston legend, the Tamale Kingpin himself, Chingo Bling. He is on the live with us today. We're pretty excited. We're going to go over a few things with him. Going to have an introduction with him. He's also I want you to go ahead and include your dates for your comedy show at the beginning as well.
Oh, for sure.
We'll go ahead and start off with you. Kind of introduce yourself and also the comedy shows, please.
Wait, hold on. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, see. No, what's up, everybody tuning in? It's your boy Chingo Bling, and happy to be here. Thanks for having me. And yes, I will be at the Houston Improv February 23rd through the 24th. We were going to get that to that later, bro. Come on.
Okay, yeah, for
You
sure.
put me on the
sure.
spot, bro.
We shouted out 3 times.
Yeah.
In the middle and at the end.
Make sure we plug it in, bro. Make
No
sure
worries,
we
no
appreciate
worries.
you here for sure. Go ahead, start off with Flor. Introduce yourself.
This is Flor Velasquez with Lionsgate Realty. You can find me as Flor Velasquez Realtor in all my social media. And I do the Spanish podcast, Houston Sin Límites.
And Nathan Malderas, I'm the master broker for Lionsgate Realty, and you can find me at Better Call Nate.
Jerry.
Jerry Rodarte with Lionsgate Realty and Acquisitions.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. So now we're going to go ahead and jump straight into the podcast here. Don't want to waste no time. Since we do have a very special guest here, an esteemed guest, I want to ask you, how do you feel about Texas, especially now that we have the comedy scene in Austin? Mm-hmm. And it seems like a lot more businesses are moving towards the Texas area. How do you feel about the comedy scene itself being in Austin now that you are also in comedy?
Well, Texas is the greatest state in the union, number one. Let's get that out the gate. Yeah, it's going to be one of them type of episodes.
Yeah, I like how we started. Let's go.
First of all, let's get one thing straight. Everybody tuning in from out of state. No. Yeah, I think there's a lot of growth and opportunity because a lot of people are, getting out of New York and California, and I hear stories all the time. Like, because I tour all over the place, so like random towns and big cities, and so you'll hear people in like, especially the hill country, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
where people are like, yo, it's nothing but California plates. And then also, I just saw an article that that boy Elon Musk is creating a $15 million entertainment complex in South Texas, like retail, restaurants.
Yeah.
I guess due to SpaceX being down there.
Yeah.
So I think, and you know what? To put it in the context of show business, the narrative was always, you gotta be in LA, bro. You gotta be at the comedy store. Like the agents and the manager, they gotta see you, and this is the epicenter. And that's why all the movies that have ever come out that deal with Mexican culture were usually very like California centric. Yeah. And now, as you just mentioned, the game is shifting to where, there's just.
And I was going to ask you that too. I was going to say, why everybody from Houston that that's Mexican, Hispanic, whatever, they rap, they sing, they're actors. Why do they always go either to LA or to Miami instead of trying to make something happen here? Mm-hmm. I always thought about.
Well,
that.
I tried. I tried. I went to LA for a year.
How was it? Like for your experience?
Yeah. So the first 6 months, I was out in the outskirts, in the valley part. It wasn't the LA life experience. I was having to drive real far to attend any type of event or studio or even to buy like blank shirts for merch. Even I had all my business was in the city, so it was a little depressing the first 6 months because at the time I was having to like use rudimentary, I didn't have Lionsgate Realty out there. So I was trying to, you know what I mean? I'm asking people, hey man, anybody got an apartment for rent? What's going on? And then the second half, the next 6 months, a buddy in East LA who had a studio, he's like, bro, there's a spot that opened up around the corner. Like, if you want to jump on it. And it reminded me of home. So there, it felt more like home. I mean, you could get some good food. There's a lot more hustle and bustle. However, on a Friday night, I was on the second floor, so you might hear Tupac, Bachata, Vicente. You're hearing all kind of stuff.
The whole mixture.
Definitely.
couple gunshots.
Let me ask you this, right? As a Houston rap artist here, right? Is it just part of the culture, or is it something that you learned by yourself? Because I do see a lot of Houston rap artists who have a little bit more. They're a little bit more business inclined. You have your own merch. You also had a storefront. You also do comedy. You know, the way that you include your artistry into business. Is it something that you learned within the rap scene, or something that was always in you?
I would have to give credit to growing up Houstonian, a fan of hip hop culture, and just being around at that time where you see people, entrepreneurs like Jay Prince, Rapping Out Records, like you see Master P, like these different record labels where it was grassroots, it was local, but it was still good. You know what I mean? So that was like a blueprint that I definitely saw and tried to emulate. So by the time I went to college for marketing, by then I was like having to apply whatever they were trying to teach me, and apply it to like real life examples. Like, okay, what is vertical integration? Oh, that's like if I own the record store and the record label, and you know what I mean. So I would have to apply it into like MTV terms.
That's funny that you brought that up, right? You said Master P.
Yeah.
I've always thought of you as the Master P for the Mexicanos, because like, you know, Master P was into everything.
Yeah.
And I remember you used to have like these, used to sell tamales at the flea market. Used to sell, you know, used to have like you've been into every single aspect of it. But what you just said right now is you know, it kind of it's kind of the same with me, right? And I think that's what his question was. I've been in sales forever, right? And when I went to college to try to get some more training, or try to you know better, you know, get a better grip of my sales career, I started learning the name of things that I was already doing, implementing.
That's all they taught you.
Is that what you? Is that
in a way?
Yeah.
I wasn't doing a lot of stuff at the time in college, besides like college radio, slanging mixtapes at the Pulga, and trying to figure out like what I was gonna do with my life. That's about it.
Like something that he brought up is like always learning from what's around you and what's local. You can't try to get or learn something from another state or another people that not around in your same environment. So pretty much we move that to real estate. You know, try to learn your real estate in your area and not try to learn it from somebody else. So that's a good.
Oh,
way
that
to
makes
do it.
sense.
How much do you accredit your rise to stardom here in Houston to the style of raps that you were doing? They're a little bit separated from like the normal type of raps that we hear in Houston. It's a lot more towards the culture, the Mexican culture for sure, right? And not just that, like your raps they're catchy and they're funny, of course, right? How much do you accredit that to your success here in the Houston area? Do you feel like that was a major part of like making you stand apart, like stand
My
out?
style, how
Your
I
style,
approach
for
it.
sure.
I definitely tried to differentiate, you know, to figure out how I was going to get some market share. So I saw kind of what everybody else was doing, and I was like, and I had to be true to myself. So, for example, I wasn't a gangster. I didn't sell drugs. Like, I didn't do none of that.
Yeah.
We're past 5 minute mark, right?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
Go for it.
He's like,
Yeah, go for it.
We didn't know where you were going with this. Yeah.
basically, I didn't fit the typical, you know, template for what a hip hop rapper, somebody who's gonna rhyme words. So on paper, it's kind of like, bro, you have no business participating in this. You know what I mean? Like, you're a schoolboy. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you could be behind the scenes and manage something.
You're not from the streets.
Exactly. So I made sure that with my approach, I mean, at first I wanted to be behind the scenes, but once I realized I might have to actually be in the forefront, I wanted to take a comedic approach because I thought it would make things interesting and fun and not trying to be Mr. Tough Guy, lying and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll just rap about what I know.
I mean, it's really tough being from family being from Tamaulipas and not selling drugs. You know, it's like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
gotta be really.
Yeah.
That's gotta be pretty
I
hard
thought he
for
said Mataulipas.
Yeah, Tamaulipas, I mean,
Or Tamaulipas.
same but different. Same but different.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like that, you know, your essence of being different, not being, you know, like the typical gangster, you know, made you really like stand out for, you know, a lot of different other artists.
It was a risk. It was a risk for sure. And Houston was not my first market. Like, you would think that because I'm from here, I had to work my way around. And I was intimidated by Houston because I technically started in San Antonio, where I was like in college, because that's where I did college radio. That's where I started networking with local artists and just kind of learning the ropes. I started to kind of navigate, like, all right, I'm just a broke college student. You know what I mean? Like, what is this like? You're telling me I'm gonna throw on a cowboy hat and I'm gonna go get some boots from Goodwill and a thing from Walmart and piece it together, and go on stage, and I might get laughed at or booed. So it was like, I don't know if I'm gonna dive into this. Like, my idea might be too crazy. Like, they might not be ready for this, you know? And I put the foil, you know what I'm saying? Just to make it.
Everybody did. I think everybody put the full in. You know.
I think everybody did that
Yeah.
before when they were kids, man, just to see.
For sure, for sure. So I didn't know that. So are you saying that
I
like
didn't know that either.
kind of your idea whenever it came to hip hop music was more of a business plan, not necessarily because it's what you wanted to do or something that you've always been good at necessarily. You looked at it more as a business plan.
Well, yeah, both. Yes and
Okay.
no. So number one, I was expected to do something with my life because I had already gone to prep school for high school. I had already went to college. So on paper, bro, you got all this school debt. Like, you got this expensive education. And you're telling us right now that you're not really applying for job. You're not really applying yourself. You over here at the club trying to get your name out. You know what I mean? Running around with Frank trying to shoot a video. So there was that aspect in terms of like, I got to make this work, like the business plan. But also, since I was a kid, I would nerd out over like, hip hop and just MTV News is on, oh, Eminem suing, da, 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 or whatever. And I'd read whatever CD, album, whoever, Tupac, whatever. I'd read all the legal jargon, like, okay, these are the writers. It's their first initial, their last name. They sampled this. It all kind of came in handy when it was time to negotiate with P. Diddy and whoever else.
Yeah.
And I will tell y'all that story on tour, the P. Diddy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Surviving
I
Diddy.
I want to
yeah.
know that's what I was gonna ask. Did you survive it or?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Did
Or-
he
no,
try to?
it's on tour. It's on tour.
I'm gonna give you a couple.
Give me
right.
a sneak preview.
Here go to. It's gonna say to be continued at the end of this.
Okay. Okay.
But I'll try to give you the quick version, right? So, Pitbull called me one day out of the blue. This is like a long time ago, and he's like, "Hey, I'm telling P Diddy that he better sign you. If not, Little John wants to sign you." And I was like, "Little John wants to sign me?" He's like, "No," but I told Little John, if anybody asks, say yes, you want to sign Chingo, because I told P Diddy that if he don't sign Chingo, you want to sign him. So Little John was like, "Okay," he went along with it. And it's all true. I'll try to give you the sped up version. So at one point, P Diddy came to Houston, did the white party. Everybody had to wear white. I had a white cowboy hat. I looked like a little glass of horchata. And so he was trying to like sign me. You know what I mean? And so he was like, we're over here at Hotel Derek. You and your boys pull up, blah, blah, blah. So I know some of y'all thinking like, hey, man, he invited you to his hotel room.
Yeah.
No.
It was a suite.
The lobby.
Did he touch
Yeah,
you?
it was HPD in the hallway. It was a lot of people, assistants.
Hold on. Did he touch you, mijo?
No, mijo. Okay. He's trying to have
Yeah.
on the next Surviving Diddy
next Surviving Diddy.
with a big snot bubble. El moco. Hey, Chingo, did you ever wake up not knowing if somebody messed with your drink?
Someone
Not
bring the
knowing-
doll out. Someone bring the doll out. Where did he touch you?
I was like this at the party the whole time.
In the corner.
But long story short, I knew I was negotiating with somebody who obviously had an edge in negotiation, right? So some of the things I was, requesting in my contract, it was unheard of for somebody who was like a new artist, unsigned or whatever, to be like, hey, I want to participate in the intellectual property. You know what I mean? What's up with the masters?
Yeah.
At the time, I don't even think he owned his masters. I think the parent company to his label, his was like a boutique label under Clive Davis's label, whatever. But that was a very interesting chapter where it was like, yo, I look up to this dude, and he's actually like trying to talk business. And
So you were asking for your masters before anybody knew who masters were. I think like the Masters kind of came into the diaspora whenever Nipsey Hussle started talking about him, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you were asking about that like way before. So I think that kind of leads more towards like you're business minded whenever it comes to anything that you've been doing in general.
And I gotta give credit because I had a lot of mentors that like gave me the cheat sheet. You know what I mean? That like had to break it down because I was cramming for this test. Like, you know, you can go to the bookstore and get a big old music business book like this
Yeah.
and read contracts all day, I guess. But there was one gentleman in particular, Charlie Braxton. He was explaining to me like consulting and saying, "All right, Chingo, the deal that I ended up signing was with Asylum Records, which was under Warner Brothers. But one of the last things I asked them to take out after they gave me my masters and everything else, one of the things that I had them take out was the courtesy clause, which was if we ever got into a money dispute, right? I'll give you an example. When Little John was owed money from his record label, they were holding his money hostage, right? It's like Big Bank, take Little
Little
Bank,
Bank,
because
yeah.
it's like, oh, we're the distributor. It comes to us first, and then we divvy it to you, artist. So he was waiting on his part, and there was that negotiation struggle, and Little John said, "Oh, well, I'm a star myself. I produce records. While you try to smoke me out and give me the slow walk, I'm gonna go produce hits for all these people, and I'm gonna be all right until I get the money to sue your ass, or something like that, right? Excuse my language. So he tried to do that, but when those records were about to get released, they needed approval from his label. So the courtesy clause would say, Little John appears courtesy of TVT Records. Because he had a courtesy clause in his contract, they were able to hold him hostage and say, we're not going to approve any of this stuff.
Oh, shit.
So just hang tight while we figure out how we're going to pay you.
Yeah. So as a somebody, let's say somebody wants to get into the music industry here, local Houston artist, right? We do see for some reason, a lot of Houston artists don't necessarily make it into the pop culture side of things, right? Here in Houston, if you're a popular artist, like we know some artists here who make a lot of money, right? Just by being a famous Houston artist. Why do you think, if somebody who's thinking about getting into the rap game and wants to blow up like a Drake or something like that, why do you think the Houston culture doesn't necessarily blow up that much?
Well, there's a lot of variables, right? There's a ton of variables in terms of like, well, why not this artist? And why not this artist? We don't know all what's going on with all their situations, right? But for the most part, I think the Houston music scene, especially on the rap side, we've definitely been our own little ecosystem and in our own little bubble, which was good because it was very like self-sustainable. Like you can tour this entire state because it was all this one culture. Like we're the state where you could buy a pickup that says Texas Edition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? McDonald's used to have Texas Homestyle Burger, and it don't matter where I was, I'd ask for the Texas Homestyle Burger.
How was it for you personally to get into like the Houston, market as an artist?
Did you get any discrimination or any pushback from because rap predominant, or not just rap but just the industry here is it's a lot of black people. Did anybody say like, hey, you don't belong here, hey, I don't want you, hey, I don't like this, I don't like that?
I mean, I think the only time I've really been discriminated against is over political views,
Yeah.
But with that aside, no, people show a lot of love, man. I think there's actually a lot of unity and a lot of ¿cómo te digo? Collaboration.
Everybody works in kind of in unison.
Yeah.
If you're here from Houston, they
Because
collaborate together.
what it is like, it's almost like real recognized real type of thing. So it's like a self-regulating meritocracy type of thing. So let's just say in the comedy scene, right? If somebody's janky or they have a reputation of like being lazy, trying to cut corners, they're not really funny. They're not working on their stuff. They're just
Stealing
trying
jokes.
to see who they can schmooze. They think it's one of those like, oh, it's who you know, pimping or whatever. Those kind of people, no los toman en serio, you know what I mean? So they just kind of fall to the wayside and they sit back and wonder like, man, why show me no love?
Now, with that being said, right, I know because I've been to California a few times, right? You know, with a few of my investors and stuff like that. Down there, they are big. I don't know what word you use. I think you said Mexican eyes or What is it for?
Like Mexican centric.
Centric, yeah, they're Mexican centric right over there, and they feel because here in Houston we're a melting pot. I mean, like it's everything. It's all kinds of people here, you know. And when you go down there, you know, when you go to L.A., when you go to San Diego, when you go to those places, they're like the Mexicans stick together, right? Did you ever get any pushback, or did any of them ever tell you anything for being over here with this melting pot of Houston?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. There's a few. They have their own culture,
Way of doing
and then
things.
there's the street culture, and then there's like the prison gang culture that somehow oozes into stuff, into like. So I'll just give you a couple examples. I'm trying to think of a good one. Some were valid. I'll give you one where it was valid because I didn't know no
Okay.
better. So there I was in my early 20s, starting to gain some regional notoriety. I get booked to perform at a couple like Lowrider Magazine car shows, one of which being San Diego. So it's me and a bunch of my homies from Houston. It'll be like my hype man, my DJ, my road manager, or something like that. And we're out there in San Diego. I think the night before we were in LA. So a local clothing designer, I think he was like Puerto Rican or something, he was making jerseys, and he had different ones with different flags and stuff. Damn, boy. Yahweh? Yeah,
Trying to make all the best come out.
Yeah, the good stories. Yeah,
he said me, I need to loosen up. He's like, hey,
We need to get more cheese, man. Come on,
Hey,
man.
yeah,
loosen up,
exactly.
bro.
Yeah, waiting for the real
Hey,
cheese, man. Yeah, let's go.
I'm at the drink champs. So long story short, all right. So when I was in LA, they gave me this jersey, and it said Mexico, and it had a 14 on it, and it was white, and it had like a lot of red with a little bit of green. It was just a big red 14. That's all you need to know for this story. A big old red 14. All right. So now we go to San Diego. I'm like, oh, I could wear this new jersey. Like, I don't even have to iron or nothing. And my hype man, he usually would wear like black t-shirts, white t-shirts, blue. This day, he decided to put on red. And he like never wore red. So here we are on stage. The 14 for the street culture people, that represents more of a like Northern California street type of essence. The Southern is more of a blue 13 type of, for the most part. So here I was, and everyone's just kind of like not vibing with us. It's just an ocean of people, and they're just all like staring. And I was like, okay, well, thank you guys. And we go back to our booth to sign articles, trying to meet people and sell merch and stuff. And like we're like, how do we do? And everyone's like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's just kind of a weird vibe. I was like, yeah, it was kind of weird when I was up there too. And I was like, and this one like veterano OG, orale, like with the brocha, you know, he's like, hey, yeah, he's like, hey, homie, I just want to let you know, bro, because I know you're not from around here, carnal. He's like, but what you got on your shirt right now, that's disrespectful. And I was like, oh no, see, it says Mexico, there's green. I was in LA, a Puerto Rican dude gave it to me. And he's just like, nah, homie, you know, that's what it is, bro. And he said, you see my niece over there? It was like a teenage girl. He's like, she's a huge fan of you, but she won't come near you right now.
Oh,
And then I looked over and she's like, and I was like, no, it's still me. I was like, man, I don't care about this jersey. Someone gave it to me. I'll wear something else. Like, come over here, say hello, type of thing.
Yeah, over there they're serious about their stuff, man. I heard you can't even wear like regular baseball caps or like a regular team because even a
You don't know
Houston
yet.
team.
I mean, it
Houston
could be
team, you
Yeah.
get the gang
depending
banged
what
on.
hood you're in.
Didn't somebody get like ran down or they beat him up? It was a Houston guy. He had a Houston hat in Cali, and they like beat him up for no reason. They thought he was from somewhere else.
So either they hate the Astros or they just you
Yeah.
claiming
That too.
something else. You know?
Probably hate the Astros.
Yeah, probably that too.
Nah. But so now that we're kind of gone this far in, right? With something that you said earlier, right? Is the only time you actually felt like real discrimination was whenever you started. I would want you to
I was
say.
trying to present different ideas.
There we go. Present different ideas, right?
I was trying to be transparent and honest
Okay.
because for the longest time, for a good portion of time in my career, I was very outspoken about border issues, and it was more from a certain standpoint.
What standpoint was that?
They can't deport us all. It was an emotional.
Yeah.
It was a polarizing message. Like I had an album.
Emotional, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah, there wasn't a bunch of facts and statistics. It was just like, you know what, bro? I heard what y'all saying because it's an election year, and I hear y'all trying to scapegoat us, and there's a whole lot of blame, and y'all generalizing and whatever else I thought at the time, and so that was my thing where I was like, oh, this is also kind of a cool album title. It's very, because I was inspired by like Public Enemy, like Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, We Can't Be Stopped, Ghetto Boys, like these titles, very provocative. So then fast forward, you know, many years later, by this time I'm probably like 40-year-old taxpayer, 3 daughters, looking at crime going up, you know, learning about inflation or wages for the working class, whatever. So my views shifted dramatically once I started realizing like, oh, well, why did the media say it like this if it was really about this? And why did they say this? Why'd they cut that part out? So so I wanted to be transparent and be honest and try to get the conversation going little by little.
Yeah.
It was just on my Twitter. And then I went live on Twitter. And when I went to the back to do that particular live, I came back in the house and my wife was like, oh, you were back there for a little while, huh? How'd it go? This is around the time like Lil Wayne and like Waka Flocka were like, yeah, man, we voting for the orange one. And I was like, man, I think the coast is clear. I think it's safe. I think it's safe. I think hip hop is ready for this conversation. But my wife was like, you didn't say anything that might get, misconstrued or taken out of context. And I'm like, no, you'd probably have to like zoom in and splice out. I mean, no one got time.
Cut it up.
I was like, no one has time to do that. Let's go to bed. Next morning, Frank texts me, hey, bro, it's like screenshots, cling, cling, all these like Chicano food community, fools, this, and the food homie politics, and all these pages. He's like, hey, bro, I know you're trying to go viral, but I don't know if this the way you're trying to go viral. And I was like, shit, clean up on aisle 7.
Damn.
So then you got to try to explain, like, I'm not a bad person. It's still me.
Yeah.
It was like the 14 on the jersey all over again.
So do you feel a little vindicated now that you see a lot more people kind of leaning towards? See, I hate to use left and right, like namers, right? Because then that puts you in a category.
Mm-hmm.
But it's certain, like Texas, completely different state of mind, right?
Oh, no doubt.
And once I got older, I understood it. Like I said, whenever you were coming out with that, I was like, what is this? I was like, that's ridiculous.
even that turned off a lot of people, because I was, so, young, ratchet, and outspoken. That kind of, so a lot of people, I don't remember off the top of my head, but maybe some people did try to have a discussion of like, hey, bro, do you know what happens? Like, do you know how this, how it all works and how the ramifications,
who runs this? Yeah.
or the ramifications and how it affects people, like your cousins in Mexico. Do you know how this all might affect them? You know what I mean? And I didn't have time. I didn't, man, I don't care, dog.
And it ends up, like, you're right. Like we said at the very beginning, it ends up being a lot more on the emotion side, right? And I think that has a lot to do with, especially with the younger people, like what's that saying, right? Like whenever you're young, if you're not a liberal, then you don't have a heart. And then whenever you're old, if you're not
a brain.
not like right, you don't have a brain, right? So now that you're older, do you feel like that was the right path to kind of you take? Especially now, do you still hold those same values whenever you first started to do that switch? Are you more towards the right side, or are you still like?
I'm starting. It's like you go from red pill to black pill. Like I'm starting to, some of the stuff you're breaking down, in terms of like the labels don't really mean anything.
Yeah.
Like the letter behind the politics, that don't mean anything. The parties don't mean anything because they got good and bad in both, and a lot of times the bad is working together. Mm-hmm. Behind the scenes to screw over us. But in terms of feeling vindicated, I mean, not really, bro. I'm just trying to focus on showing people like I'm still funny. You know what I mean? You come to the show, it's not all, I'm not preaching to you. Like, it's going to be, like, I really take the comedy craft, like, I love it. I just made 9 years. This year, in August, will be my 10th year. And I got into comedy because Frank, my buddy Frank, we keep shouting him out. He's played a pivotal part in my career in several iterations and several chapters. saved my ass several times. And he happened to be like, I had attempted to do stand up at one point, like just hosting, and I bombed terribly, and it was a scary experience. So I was like afraid of it. And Frank was putting together some comedy shows, Laugh Out Loud comedy tour, selling tickets, producing events, and I was like, man, that stand up stuff is hard, bro. But if you let me practice, bro, I'd love to be a part of the show. And that's kind of how I started kind of dipping my toe in the game.
Yeah, it's all about just repetition, getting you out there, getting you comfortable. So
Yeah, that's a big part of it for sure.
What do you use like for inspiration whenever like you're starting a new tour, like to concentrate and get like content to present or
Yeah, new material.
yes, new materials.
My family, like my kids, my wife, my dad, my babysitter. You know what I mean? Like my antennas are kind of open to when something funny happens.
you just make anything situation
I mean,
funny.
it's-
Bring
I
out
mean,
the funny
So
stuff.
you
like-
pull from your actual real life stories,
so-
right, from yourself.
So you're talking about you've upset at people before, right? And the one that I've always wondered about, you upset Canelo one time.
Did I? No, he didn't really get mad.
He didn't really get mad.
Frank is a good editor. Frank is such a good editor that he persuaded people. He did a magic trick where he basically took footage of Canelo and his camp being mad about like Floyd or somebody who was a boxer. So he's such a really good editor. That's one of the first skills I noticed in Frank, where I saw a DVD he was selling that I was on.
I still remember that one.
Some stage, but I didn't really know him. He happened to get footage from my show. It was like a variety thing. Anyway, the Canelo thing, he spliced together Canelo and his team, like, nah, man, habla mucho or whatever, saying about a boxer, and Frank cut it to where I don't know how he did the magic, but he like put my video in the hand with an iPad, cut back to, and it created this visual of like, yo, Canelo's mad at Chingo.
I thought he was mad. I was like,
great
dude,
did that
marketing
Hollywood magic on
skills,
you.
like,
because I hear that dude has a bad temper. I was like, man, dude, imagine Canelo being mad at you, bro. Run into him and yeah.
Chingo said that, nah, bro, you gotta check in with me before you visit Houston.
People got to check in with you before they come here, man.
Canelo got to check in.
Yeah.
Canelo does, yeah.
Nah.
Have you ever met him before or anything like that?
No, that's Big Cinnamon, bro.
Yeah,
much,
Big
respect,
Big cinnamon, yeah.
much respect to Big Cinnamon. No, I never met him.
No.
I went to a few fights. Went to the weigh-in in Vegas recently because I'm very happy to announce that your boy, represent H-Town,
Let's go.
got booked. No, I'm talking about out there in Vegas. Let's
Let's
go.
go.
Taking it to
With,
Vegas.
Go.
with Tiffany Haddish.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Michael Blackson, Paul Rodriguez.
go.
Big Boys Neighborhood, all them people. So, and I did my thing too because, it was a diverse crowd. And my wife was a little nervous. She was just like, when I got off, she's like, I ain't gonna lie. I didn't know how you were gonna do in front of this crowd. But I did my part. They had an after party in the casino, the Vegas thing, and the hotel. And a lot of people after the show, like, hey, yeah, man, hey, you were good. Hey, you funny. You know what I mean? And
Showing you love.
yeah, they want to take pictures and talk and stuff. And they didn't really know who I was. They were probably there to see.
Now that we come back to the comedy side, right? How do you feel about this? I'm pretty sure you've seen it. It's been all over the internet, even if you haven't seen the full interview, right? How do you feel about Cat Williams on Club Shay Shay?
Ooh.
Do you feel like that was just bravado, or do you think a lot of what he was saying was actually realistic?
Well, in terms of what he said, was it all super factual and the truth? There's different perspectives. So he might say, this role was never your role. How is it possible if you didn't even read the script? I had the script, but it's like, no, but you didn't know that they let him try it. So he kind of did try it technically, but it was never really his. You know what I mean? So there's like a discrepancy in perspective. But I actually got to hang out with Cat Williams at his house. I might even tell this story if I can if I can tell this story in a funny way. I might make it to my material this year.
Go for it.
Okay.
But it was super cool because I forget what year it was, but he was like everybody had the DVD, like Pimpin', like all those DVDs were out there, and so the way I got to go to his house and meet him was we knew somebody in common. He was a comedy script writer. So the script writer calls me. I was like, hey, what's up, Rick? He's like, hey, you know Cat Williams? You a fan? I was like, hell yeah. Like, whoa, what's up, bro? Like, why you bringing up Cat Williams? He's like, all right, look. He's like, I pitched him a script. I was trying to get him on board. And then I started rattling off names of who I could probably get involved. And I happened to mention you. And that's when he stopped. He's like, whoa. You know Chingo Bling? Because at the time, I think Cat was trying to rap. So Rick, his name's Rick Nahera. He was like, what? You know Chingo Bling? He's like, yeah. I want to meet him if you really know him. And he's like, okay. So when Rick called me, he's like, hey, bro, can you be in LA Wednesday? And I was like, it's Monday, bro, but okay. And so he picked me up from the airport, and we drove to Calabasas. When we made it to his house, obviously you got somebody walking some pit bulls, somebody washing like lowriders. So it's almost like, damn, is this a rapper house?
Like a movie.
Yeah. So I'm waiting in the living room, and he pops out, and he's like, Chingo Bling, delivered as promised. And I'm like, oh snap! Like, is this delivered as promised? And I was like, surreal. Like, what is happening? So he held court like a professor, and what I really like about the Club Shay Shay interview is all of his answers. He was speaking at the height of his intelligence. He didn't dumb down. He wasn't being a character. Like, he was like using all his vocab and like at the height of his intelligence. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's really what separates him from a lot of other performers, because you could tell, like, hey, bro, he's a writer. The way he was calling out everybody else, like, you ain't even funny, or like, you didn't even write the script.
Everybody sees him like he's goofy or something, but he's actually a smart dude.
Nah. And if you break down some of his jokes, they might seem like, oh, it's just a joke about whatever. And it's like, no, he's breaking down like some geopolitics, like the one when he says, tell me what the Iraqi soldier uniform look like. I'll wait. He's like,
yeah.
You don't know. He's like, we killing them. They got on flip flops and soccer shorts or whatever. So you could tell he sits there, watch the news, break down the newspaper, has all these references, and figures out a way to break down, y'all, they're cloning meat. He's like, how do I make this funny? He's like, you gonna feed your baby the retarded clone meat? You know what I mean? He said, and the hood gonna have garlic in it already. It grow like that or whatever. but he's talking about cloning and what, stuff that's happening.
So let me, before we move on to the next topic, right? I'm very insecure about my hairline. Do you think that Steve Harvey had fake hair? Because I've been trying to reach that level of perfection with the hairline, bro. And Steve Harvey,
Bro, you got fake hair, fake
You
teeth.
ain't got a bad hairline, bro.
Yeah.
I'll rebuke that spirit.
yeah.
Don't let nobody.
But compared to Steve Harvey's haircut, bro, that was nice.
It fits like it goes.
The shape of my head.
It fits your head. It fits your face.
He's like you in trench
Thank you.
And you know what? I never liked Steve Harvey. Never liked the suits. Never
like
liked
his
the
suits.
tie. I hate his suits. His suits
I
are
like his
horrible.
suits.
But yeah, I never liked that dude. But he got fake teeth and a fake hairline. I don't think.
Well, now he's bald. Yeah.
That's funny. Oh yeah,
Probably a fake
he
mustache.
shaved now, and a fake mustache. Yeah, it looks like.
Probably.
Well, I don't know about the mustache. Yeah, who knows? They know a little bit more about industry secrets. Yeah,
Mustache fake too.
that's what Nate said. I don't know. That's according to.
I mean,
Cat didn't say that. That's Nate. Yeah,
Yeah, that was me.
Nate,
That was
yeah.
me saying that. Yeah.
He looks fake. Come on.
You never know what's
So
behind under
now
there.
that we've kind of gone through all of this, right? Somebody who, let's say, they're an artist, they've made some money within the industry. Where would you recommend them to put their money to continue to grow and treat it as a business? Will they continue to double down on their talents, or maybe explore outwards? Maybe real estate, start a business, start selling merch. Where would you recommend that money to go further?
For some reason, it's gonna sound like a cliche dope reference, but it's like everybody's trying to get in the game. Meanwhile, a lot of people that are in the game are trying to get out of the game. Meaning, get that freedom, like diversify instead of the hamster wheel of like new year, new tour, same thing, new album, and you're just kind of like, you got to reinvest. I got to give major props to my older sisters, my parents, my mom especially. Like my mom, she don't speak no English, but she got duplexes, triplexes. You know what I mean? Don't speak no English, but you know what I mean.
figure it out, or
Se la pasa shopping, like,
Oh, yeah.
like overdoes it, and she don't spend a lot. She'll just be like, oh, mira más, mijo del Goodwill, or like, no, mira en la secu tenían esto. That's because she spends her time because she's not having to
Work or maybe
yeah,
struggle
she's
in
not
there.
she's not necessarily like counting on the Social Security, like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and that was such a good example. My sisters, very frugal, very wise, um, older. They're overprotective since I was little because one's 10 years older, one's 13 years older. So they're really good examples.
Like a true Mexican, right? You got uncles like a year older than you.
Well, let me ask you this: so, where'd your mom think that got into that mindset of buying real estate, and where she learned that from? Because most of these Mexican parents, they're just trying to survive and pay off their mortgage,
Yeah.
Or
and that's
save it.
or save it
all.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they were like immigrant mindset. So it started with like a garage apartment. So first, when they first got here, they were in a garage apartment in Second Ward. Eventually, they bought a home in like Pecan Park in Grando, like 45 Woodridge area, Gulfgate area.
Yeah.
And I think they ended up selling that, but we like moved to Edgebrook and stuff like that. Now a lot of my family stays in Pearland. But I think to attribute, like, de dónde salió eso, it might just be just something that they saw, like, okay, this is a good way to do it. Like, turn that garage into a garage apartment. You know what I mean? And buy that house because it has 2 garage apartments in the back.
So they always saw opportunity or something like.
Yeah, and I know, like, my grandparents are from that era. I don't know if that was like Great Depression or post World War. I don't know which war.
The 80s?
But no, my grandparents like to where, how people just, especially the men, bro. Like my grandfathers, bro. Like I'm talking about a little mix of like agriculture. Siempre se oía que los terrenos, la cosecha. You know what I mean? There was always like
Self-sufficient almost. They kind
Yeah.
of had that understanding of it.
Yeah, so as a city boy, I didn't really comprehend like, so why at the rancho, why we gotta have lanterns at night, and why we gotta go to the outhouse, or why is the shower like that, or whatever. It's like your grandfather got all this stuff running off a car battery. Everything's rigged, but they had a city house and the ranch house, and he had 10 kids.
Yeah.
And he left them all some land.
And
So-
2 or 3 extra families on the side.
Right.
And nobody knows about. Yeah. We don't talk about those, but yeah. So you know what? He just like lit off a light bulb in my head because we do real estate, right?
Yeah.
And every good Mexican, of course, wants their ranch. But if you ask them why, nobody knows why. But it comes back to that, like our previous ancestors, grandfathers, whatever you want to call them, right?
our blood,
They
yeah.
actually
Exactly.
knew what to do with it. But nowadays, all they want to do with it is hire a band to go and play and
shoot
go
guns.
mud.
Guns.
But they're not
Shoot
using
guns.
the land for what it's supposed to
Yeah.
be used for.
Get 'em-
Yeah.
Yeah, shots fired, bro. Shots fired at Flor, man.
Not Florida. Florida uses her acreage properly. Yeah, she uses her ranch properly. Yeah.
No nomás quemando llanta, ahora.
All right.
Yeah,
Bro.
no, yeah.
I think everybody just wants a space, just kind of like the peacefulness of what everybody, what
Well,
it offers.
I don't know about everybody, but I know I do.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially when
tell
you
you
get
one.
older,
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say too much, but I'm always doing my research on stuff like that. But yeah, dude, like I know as I'm getting older. My daughters are growing and stuff, and you start paying attention to things like school districts and like,
The taxes.
I mean, yeah, school district crime. It's kind of like, yeah, I like the Weir Melting Pot and all that, and gentrification is cool, but
Not so cool.
yeah, why this house costs $500,000 and you hearing pop, 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 pop?
Yeah.
It's like, well, you in Houston, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like in a little spot and $500,000, and you're like, man, this.
You pay for the culture down
Yeah,
there.
I'm parking
it's
on the
like-
street.
You pay for the
It's like,
culture.
but there's nice coffee shops.
Yeah, right.
I like to be able to walk to my coffee shop, bro. I like to be able to walk to my coffee shop. I like to be able to scoot to wherever I need to go to. I don't need to drive my car. I can scoot wherever I want to go to, bro. That's what I pay for down
I think
here.
I seen you scooting over here.
You see a little suit flapping in the wind.
Exactly. I'm the only guy down here on a little scooter down with my suit on.
You know
Yeah.
what? Yesterday I was just telling one of my friends, like, man, I really do love the country life because, like, people actually act like a little bit more normal. Like, there's actually groceries in this store after the freeze, not like in Houston.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
There was toilet
People know
paper.
how to be self-sufficient in the
Yes.
country. Yeah, of course.
Definitely.
And they probably got food already packed up for months already.
Yes,
You know, their deep
yeah.
freezer full of deer meat. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I'm mad. I missed out on some deer meat, bro. I missed out on some free deer meat, bro. I'm mad.
So,
I'll hook
do
you
your
up.
tamales?
Deer tamales. I've never had deer tamales.
No
You
way.
get with Jerry, man.
Yeah,
Jerry
I'll hook
has
you
it.
up.
Jerry.
You hunt?
Oh, yeah.
He has deer meat right now.
A word.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Talk to me later.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of. I got half steer in the freezer. You know what I'm saying? You
There
want
you
some
go.
beef or some venison?
Who had you had some really good hog, right, at the end of the year last
Yes.
year? So like you've gone what, like a year without buying actual meat because you're
Like,
self-sufficient
we
on
raise
your.
our cattle
Yeah,
and we
so that's-
kill them like for
that's
a
like-
year.
Oh, y'all raise the
That's super
cattle?
awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's a ranch lady, man. She sells ranches.
I can send you your
Legitimately,
next
yeah.
Yeah.
La Leona de los
Yeah.
Terrenos.
Yeah.
Her.
Like,
La
she lives an
dueña.
hour from the city. She don't live down here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now your rap, you gave up your rap career. You're just doing straight comedy. You're no longer rapping.
Many people say there will be a resurgence. So I just dropped a single, Crunk Cumbia Ain't Dead. We actually shot a lot of it right here.
Oh, I did see it with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
slingshots.
Compound Films. Yeah, Crunk Cumbia Ain't Dead. We just shot that. So it's on the back burner. You know, it's not completely. I mean, yeah, I kind of definitely took a break. You know, in terms of like stand-up comedy kept me so busy, and all the podcasting, all the other projects, to where it's just one of those things where it becomes increasingly difficult to be like. I mean, you got to kind of be all in. That's got to be your main
Yeah.
thing. If you're dropping a new music video every every month, you know, if you're just like always in the studio, like I did that for years, but that ship has sailed.
So you know, and you don't have to answer me if you don't want to, but you know, I know everybody's really touchy about it, but you know, I grew up in the time with SPM, right? And when SPM was rapping, like the rap scene here in Houston, for Mexicanos, for Hispanic people, was like on fire. I mean, like they were just putting out hit after hit after hit. After he went to jail, it seemed like it just fell apart. You know, I think everybody who was rapping with him, they all went to LA, they all went everywhere else, you know, Miami. Do you see him getting out and that picking right back up
Resurgence?
where it left, or do you see just, you know, that not, you know, happening?
So that era that you're describing, there's a lot of variables. So yes, he was, you know, making a lot of noise, selling a lot of records and all that. And also, at the time, it was just this era where you had these nightclubs with like all these Mexican kids and the rap music playing, and you had these radio stations, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Party 104.9. Well, first it was like House Party. Homie Marco created that out of a Tejano station. Then it turned into a format that got replicated across the country. Where that's when Univision came in. It was like, hey, let's talk. So those are some big variables, and also you had Southwest Wholesale, which was like a major distributor here in town with funding and resources. So they were able to, like at one point, I missed out on this part because I was still a DJ at the time. At one point, it was like, you get a label, you get a label, you get a label, like you get a budget. Like, you want to go on the road? How many posters you need? Like, here's 10 grand, go. To where they were, you know, I'm sure SPM kept the lights on over there quite a bit with the amount of units, you know,
Yeah.
he was moving through them. But to answer your question, will that golden era ever come back? If it does, it won't look the same. Just because, you know,
Everybody's grown already.
I mean, the world's constantly changing. You got a new crop of kids,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
everything's constantly morphing and changing. I remember when it went from those big clubs to these like ultra lounges, and it was like, oh, now you can't get in, you're not dressed nice
Yeah,
enough,
yeah.
you know. They started being like, no, we got the pretty girls, you know. They start filtering out and like, you're too ghetto, you know, wrong
I
shoes.
I took my uncle and my cousins there the other week, and they were like, "Man, we want some actual Houston hip hop." He's like, "No, they don't play that."
We're gonna play that here.
And they were upset.
And also to add to what I was saying about the landscape and all the variables, like if you're a Mexican American hip hop fan, you're gonna listen to probably 97.9, not one of these like reggaeton bachata stations.
Yeah.
So if you're a Latino artist from Houston, I don't know what genre in this example, this is super hypothetical, but you could go through the stations in Houston and be like, okay, well, damn, that one's R&B. All right, well, I don't do adult contemporary. You know, okay, well, that one's country. You know, that's Christian. Okay, and it's like, well, damn, this is the closest thing to my demographic, but it's like Caribbean, Dominican music.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess I could probably get on one of those beats, but you know,
So, and I think that's always been Houston's problem with like breaking out into the major diaspora, right? It's the same reason why I feel like Drake, of course, he always credits what he did or his career because of Houston, but he was able to take that and make it pop, right?
Yeah.
The same thing. I mean, almost on every single album, he has some kind of chopped and screwed in there, and that's because of us down here, right? Because of Houston. And the hardest part that I see, like even if whenever he does get out of jail, right, and he comes back, a lot of the other people who
I was like, what? Drake's
Oh, no,
in
no,
jail?
not Drake, not SPM, right? SPM, whenever he does come back, right, a lot of the people who were on top at the same time frame as him also are doing time. You know, there's a lot of them who are also doing time with him. So that whole, like, era is gone.
Yeah.
Like, there's no going back to it. At least I don't think so.
And no, I understand that, right? But you know, I was you know, I grew up in that era. I was in that era, you know, and I just remember, of course, it's from the outside looking in, right? Because I was in the industry, right? But I just remember that that there was a lot of unity. Like the Hispanic culture was together. I mean, they were all backing each other up. Everybody, you know, you can go to you know, we used to go to the concerts, to the clubs, to the whatever, and it was just, you knew everybody, you know. And then that just kind of went away, and it hasn't. Nobody's been able to recapture that. And it's funny that you say that because that's the closest that you can get to anything that has to do with Spanish. You have to go to bachata, you have to go to reggaeton. I don't understand what the heck they're saying. I can understand like maybe one or two Spanish words in all that song, and you know, there's just nothing there for you know, for us, you know. And you know, and a lot of people say, oh, we go to LA, right? There's a lot of Mexicanos over there, but you know, it's with all that whole ese vato.
Yeah, it's just a different
They're
type of
different
Mexican
kind,
right
yeah,
here,
bro. I'm not
Texas
down
is
with
a different
all that.
breed.
You know, Texas is a
We're our
different
own. Yeah, we're our
and
own.
so there's really no, you know, and I don't know if SPM was a leader or not at that time, or if he, well, maybe he was. He was leading the Hispanic community, the Mexican community. He was saying Mexican when it was you know, a bad word, you know, and so that has never been recaptured here again.
And not
since
just
he's
that,
been gone.
SPM was literate. Like his
Facts, yeah.
raps, right? Like it's different from being like gangster rap or whatever it may be, but like his raps were also something. I almost see his raps as poetry.
Yeah.
A lot of his raps that you could sit down and read them, and they're almost, I would say, on the same level as like Tupac raps, right? They're poetry, both in the same. So I think he did, like, he moved the Houston music forward, and then other people, of course, followed behind him and continued to move that up. But guys, we do have a hard out. I want to give a big thanks to Frank here with Compound Films to setting this up with Chingo Bling. If you guys need any kind of music videography, hit up my boy Frank with Compound Films. He's out here in the city all the time, every Saturday night. Where you at? Shooting your videos with the Red Spatula?
Red Spatula.
On 300 Main with the Red Spatula. Hit him up. Also follow his Instagram page. I'm going to go ahead and let everybody exit. Start off with Chingo. Let them know where your dates are for your comedy show.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
Are We Still Friends tour stops in Houston February 23rd and 24th at the Houston Improv. Get your tickets now. Can't wait to meet you guys. Say hello, make you laugh. Get your tickets, chingobling.com. Sas.
Awesome. Flor?
Flor Velasquez with Lionsgate Realty. Thank you so much for tuning in today. You can find me at Flor Velasquez QC Realtor in all social medias.
And of course, I'm Nate Valderas. I'm a master broker for Lionsgate Realty. You can find me at Better Call Nate.
And Jerry Rodarte with Lionsgate Realty, Jerry HTX Realtor on all social platforms.
And for all my investors out there, if you are looking for investment property, Jerry does have the hookups with all the off-market investment properties. So make sure you hit him up. I'm Giovanni Frank with Lionsgate Realty. I am also a real estate agent, along with a sales manager here at Lionsgate Realty. You can find me here on this channel, Houston Bound, and also Houston Business and Real Estate. Until next time.